And welcome everybody to this week's community call, which is going to be a little sad one in one particular way because Ismail, my usual partner in crime, is not joining us today. It's only Max, myself, and Evgeny on stage. Please say hi to everybody, guys.
Hi from only Max.
No, I didn't mean it like that. Don't take it personally.
Hey,
It's
Nym
just
welcome to the call.
Hi, Evgeny. Evgeny once again is crashing the call. He's becoming more of a host at this point. I'm just sad because of the lack of Ismail because now I don't have anyone to blame for the lack of elevator music. So that will just go on from next week, guys. Please be patient until then. So as always, we have a text channel. We moved it near the actual stage that this call is taking place on. So it's called Community Call. It's a text channel. You can share your questions and also like any comments you may have during the call. And we're going to be keeping an eye on that one and answer your questions as they come in. So as always, let's start with a quick news recap and go through what happened to the project this week. So first of all, we just shared a few moments before this call a quick summer events recap because it's pretty hard to keep up with us sometimes. We're attending a ton of events. Different members of our team are attending a ton of events and speaking at events and all of that good stuff. So we thought of publishing these event recaps maybe once every summer and then once every spring and once every autumn, just so you guys, if you miss something, then you can catch up with what has happened. Hopefully you appreciate that. A link will be shared to that in the text channel. And in other news, we had Twitter Spaces with Secret Network. It was hosted by Secret Network, and it featured quite a few great privacy projects actually in Web3. So there was Railgun DAO represented, and also Menta and many others, and also Michelle Ai, who's a privacy advocate. It's highly recommended for you guys to listen to it. And this was probably just the first of many of these types of conversations and also interactions between these projects in the privacy space. Because although we have all slightly different angles at privacy and the different solutions and different technologies, we share a very important common goal, and that is to uphold privacy as a fundamental and inalienable human right. And there's a long way to go until we achieve that. And since we have a lot in common with these projects, we thought about collaborating with them more, and also they agree with that. So it's too early to say more, but expect to see us working more closely together with these projects in the future. That's all I'm going to say for now. In other news, this is kind of important actually, but most of you are probably aware already that a public beta of Nym Connect has been released. So we also have a configuration guide released along with it for Electrum, because the first application that it supports is Electrum. So basically, Nym Connect, for those who are not aware, is a one-button, very simple interface to basically privacy enhance applications that you've already been using. The first application that we've added is the Electrum wallet, and later on, we're also going to be adding Keybase, and then after that, Telegram. But more in that in a bit. We're going to be talking about this topic with Max, and we are still working on ways to better capture your feedback. We're getting a lot of high quality feedback from our community, both bug reports and feature requests for our software and many other things. So we're just continuously working on finding structures to better capture that feedback and also to better act on that feedback. So in line with that, I would once again like to share our bug reporting form. We've been reporting some really high quality receiving some really high quality bug reports. So thanks for that, guys. If you run into any issues with any of our tools that you're using, including the wallet, including our Network Explorer, including Nym Connect or whatever it may be, please make sure to reach out to someone on the team or file a bug report with the form shared, because this feedback is going to improve our products so that they can become even more awesome than they already are. And in line with that, we also have an early adopters mailing list, which is for people who want to play around with our tech and stuff that we release a bit early. So, for example, Nym Connect is now publicly released to the in a beta version. But before that, we only released it to our early adopter circle, which happened on this early adopters mailing list. So if you're interested in seeing our releases a bit earlier than everybody else and play around with them and maybe and hopefully providing some quality feedback on them, then please make sure to sign up to this newsletter. Yeah. So, and one more thing around gathering feedback. We've also been working with my colleague Martian to gather feedback from both mixed node operators and delegators about using tools such as our wallet and some other things like that. It was really easy to find a lot of mixed node operators, so that's we're done with that part of the interviews. But we would also like to interview some delegators. So if you or someone you know have Nym tokens delegated to a mixed node, please reach out to me in DM, and I will. And you would also, of course, like to share your feedback, which is not mandatory but highly recommended. Then please reach out to me in DM on either Telegram or here on Discord, and then I'm going to set you up with Martian, who's going to gather your feedback so that we can once again improve our products to absolute awesomeness. And one more quick news item for those who have been attending these calls more than once. You already know that we invite mixed node operators on for a spotlight. But outrageously and unacceptably, everybody's on holiday apparently right now, which is totally unbelievable and highly unacceptable. So nobody's going to join me as a mixed node operator. So once again, I'm set to report that all I have for you is Max and Evgeny. And on that note, let's move on to my conversation with Max, who's just back from holiday actually, which is also highly unacceptable. And we're going to be talking about once again, network requesters and Nym gateways. And service grants, which he's heading, and also Nym Connect to some degree, because over these past few months we've been increasingly shifting our focus to the Nym ecosystem as opposed to our infrastructure push, and for that to kickstart, we basically need privacy enhanced applications and various use cases for the Nym infrastructure. So that's what we've been focusing on achieving these days, and the first tranche of Shipyard grants is focused primarily on getting gateways and network requester pairs set up on by our community. So that's what's happening right now. It is still in progress. The applications for our first tranche of grants, and Max is joining me to discuss that. So welcome, Max.
Thanks. Hi everyone. Again.
So let's start with a few numbers, please. You've been going through, so you're heading the grants program, right?
Yes.
And you're going through and checking all the submissions that we've received so far. So how many applications do we have right now?
Is roughly about 149, and of pull requests that have been made by people in the service grants GitHub repo, which is where people apply. I say around 149 because actually some people have closed them, which is quite kind of erratic. But yeah, so I've gone through about 150, and yeah, I think we will take this opportunity to say that we are going to briefly extend it over the weekend. So basically, end of day Monday UTC. So that's 23:59 on Monday UTC. Then you can still apply until then. So I kind of extended it a little bit.
That's great news actually. And what about the rest of the timeline? Are we also shifting some other target dates?
Yeah. So it's yeah, some other work kind of suddenly appeared this week for the team, and which happens in evolving software projects like this, and so yeah, we're basically hoping to get a platform release out next week, which will include these new binaries. With that, there will be the docs for how to set these new binaries up, and then successful grantees. Basically, once those are up, I will send instructions to the successful people to get those ready for what date and kind of what I require from you as a grantee to start receiving your payment. Obviously, I will. The dates are possibly somewhat flexible because depending on when this platform releases, I'm not going to give everyone 2 days. Like I'll be reasonable with it. So depending on when this platform releases, I'll make sure everyone has enough time to get them set up. So if the dates need to be pushed back a little bit, they will.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So definitely we should have the platform out before we do anything else. So then I guess the whole timeline is shifting by a little bit, but that's really good for those who missed applications so far, because they still have 2 more days to do so.
Exactly.
The original deadline was this Tuesday, by the way, so you get quite a few more days too.
Yeah,
What
we got a few afterwards, but I also looked through those. So yeah, don't worry, no one's been penalized.
Great stuff. And what about those closed ones? What does that mean? Do you still have access to them, and are you still going to assess?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't really kind of expect this to happen. That the people putting in the pull request would actually close their own pull request. So I think I'll just have a look at it. There's only a few. I'll have a look at them and kind of play it by ear, I think. But yeah, if anyone did close it, either by accident or otherwise, yeah, I'd be interested to know. So just ping me on Discord if you feel like it.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So, and since we're at questionable or weird submissions, how many good ones do we have so far? Be honest. Our target, just so you guys know, our target is about 50. So we're looking for 50 high quality applications to give grants to. Where are we in terms of that right now?
Off the top of my head, we have somewhere in the mid-30s for pretty.
That's a good start. Hopefully some more are going to float in during the weekend. So what are the main issues that you're seeing, just so people maybe who are listening to this can be inspired a little bit? What should they do and what shouldn't they do based on what you've seen so far? I think we lost Max for a second. Max, are you with us? Hello? Evgeny?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I
Okay,
think
it's not just me then. We lost Max for a little bit. So then let's have a random conversation, Evgeny. How is it going?
yeah, just wondering where this 50 number comes from.
Hi, Max. Welcome back. Can you hear us now?
Yes, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. There's quite a big storm over Vienna, which I think might be messing with my internet signal.
Oh, hopefully nothing breaks permanently and everything is fixable.
No, it'll be fine. Yeah.
Actually, Evgeny is asking where the number 50 is coming from. Do we have any thought process behind that?
I mean, no, the number 50 is semi-arbitrary. However, we are, which is maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but I think that's okay. We're talking about, at the moment, Nym Connect only supports one thing. However, we're going to be rolling out kind of more apps that we want to see supported by it. So 50 kind of chops up quite nicely just into even round numbers with the apps, all of the apps that we want to support eventually with this at the end of this process.
It's not jumping the gun too much, because we've already talked about with Jaya and I believe also Bogdan in previous community calls that we would like to support Keybase first, after Electrum, and then later on Telegram. Those are the first added applications.
Yeah, those are the first added applications. But obviously, if people have ideas for apps that they would like to see supported, then please again reach out to me in one of the Telegram channels, probably in the integrations channel, or the Peeps channel, but probably integrations. Because at the end of the day, if you want to set one of these up yourself, it is it's fairly trivial if you are quite comfortable with a CLI and setting up a VPS. And the majority of modern desktop apps do speak SOX 5. So there's a whole plethora of stuff there that is totally possible to do. And if you have any ideas, please let us know. Reach out.
I guess actually this ties pretty well into both, and also Evgeny's earlier question also ties into this pretty well. So let's recap what these grants are actually about. So we're looking looking for people to set up gateway network requester pairs. So what's that about, and why do we need a higher number than we currently have of those to kickstart use cases of the Nym mixnet?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of reasons that we basically want to start seeing these set up, and I think this relates back to a point that you made earlier, which is where you said, over the last couple of months, we're kind of starting to focus on the ecosystem. We've obviously been before the launch, we were obviously solely infrastructure focused, kind of iterating through testnets, and now we're in a position that we can start shifting our focus onto applications actually using the network. But for an application to use the network, you need the infrastructure there in the first place for it to use. And if we're talking about a kind of a non-code, should we say, integration, like a way that people can use existing desktop applications with Nym, then sending all of that app data through a SOC 5 proxy and through a network requester, which is the thing that will sit on the other side, so to speak, of the mixnet and actually make these outbound requests for you, shielding all of your precious metadata from the servers of the app that you're actually pinging. We need that infrastructure there for people to actually start using the apps. And having a kind of a plethora of gateways set up, is one way of supporting that, because obviously a gateway and the network requester can only actually take so much traffic, so you can't pound everything through a single one. Also, you shouldn't, because decentralization. It's a good way for us to essentially gather some stats about what traffic is actually going through the mixnet in terms of the application, just the application, seeing what people actually want to use. But also it gives us a lot of insight into stuff like future hardware requirements, for a gateway or for a network requester, which is, these are questions that have cropped up, both in the Discord and the Telegram, and it's cropped up a bit more recently as people are setting these things up. And, this is a good opportunity to basically kind of start stress testing some of those nodes. If a gateway falls over, because it's a certain size box and there's 10 people using it, then that's actually very valuable information to know going forward, especially when we are we're not asking people to use the mixnet in this kind of like experimental or like beta context, but when people are actually wanting to use it for with the expectations and the need for the kind of privacy protections that the network can offer ultimately.
Exactly. And on that note, actually, it's pretty important to note, guys, just for now, for the time until Nym Connect is in beta, don't really rely on it for critical stuff yet. It is using the mixnet. It is offering privacy, but it's beta software after all, so it's experimental. Just don't topple your government over it yet. That can come a bit later. Am I right, Max?
Yeah, as much as I want to say, but do try, then no. In terms of the actual privacy protections, then yeah, like Simon said, but to reiterate again, this is in beta, and yeah, don't use this if you require ironclad NSA proof comms quite yet.
But it's on the menu, guys. It is happening, so that's the ultimate goal. Don't worry, you can topple your government.
It's on the horizon.
Yes, definitely. So then, one more question about data, because my understanding is that we have sort of this. I'm using the phrase on-ramp more during these community calls than ever before in my life, because we're setting up all of these on-ramps in terms of our grants, and also I guess in terms of usage that we're onboarding through these different use cases through Nym Connect onto the mixnet, right? So there's this graduality. The way I see it, first Electrum wallet, which is a little amount of data traffic, and then Keybase, and then Telegram. So there's one step up at each step in terms of usage. So what is the goal with that? Do you have any info on that?
Do you mean in terms of maybe the timeline when we're going to start rolling out these additional things that are going to be supported through Nym Connect, or
More like more the purpose of this gradual stepping up towards more heavy use cases?
Okay, this kind of goes back to the point I was making before, which is, you already said it. Electrum Wallet is going to be relatively small amounts of traffic that is going to be supported by this infrastructure, and then we go up to Keybase, obviously, out of, I would say, a lot of the chat apps that are kind of standard in whatever this broad kind of community of people who are interested in privacy and development projects and whatever. It's still a relatively small user base for an app. And that will, again, help us, we can see we can basically just like stress test in steps, with Telegram opening the floodgates of data that we imagine is going to be suddenly going through these kind of gateway network requester pairs that we've got set up. So it's just to, much like with the testnets, we're trying to take the approach of like stepwise iteration, expanding with each iteration, but like building on it and actually seeing what the limits are there of the infrastructure, which is going to be really good information to gather.
Exactly. So, I guess in a lot of ways it's one thing to have an idea of the theory of something, and it's a completely different thing to see it working in practice and actually carrying packets and seeing maybe all the bugs and the different load conditions
Exactly.
that it can be under. Yeah.
Exactly. Like a previous an example of this previously was in it was still when we were actually in the Milhon testnet, but I just kind of presumed that the network requester would work with Thunderbird. Obviously, it's a mixnet, it's an email client. It's kind of the the OG use case of why you would use a mixnet, right? As well as tying into this, obviously this potential history of maybe Satoshi was using Mixminion when sending emails to the infamous email list. But in finding that out, I actually realized that we'd have to tweak something for it to work with email, for instance. Like, it's just, we've built this infrastructure, and I don't know, maybe it hasn't been stressed enough, or maybe it should be stressed more, that we built it's an entirely new overlay network that iterated quite quickly through testnets and has now been running. And then because of that, we need to work out how you pipe everything in and how you start connecting people and what those best first moves are, in doing that. And obviously, the community who supported us through testnets, the sale, all of this, then we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to be those beta testers and be involved as we are kind of going through this process as well.
Heading back a little bit towards the grants program, because I think we have some topics to cover there as well. So what is the overall what is the overall process from here? So once we're done selecting the 50-ish gateway network requester pairs, where to from there?
So with regards to these grants, which is what we're calling the service grants, then like I said before, I will be emailing people who are successful. And then when instructions are publicly available, I will email them to people as well. With regards to the grants program more generally, then we are going to also be launching our dev grants program a little bit later in the year. And these will be, basically there'll be 4 sizes of potential grant that you could go for. Each of these will have, kind of a clearly defined spec and all of this, so don't worry about that. We're going to be as exact as possible. The different names of these different grants actually were also taken from a fantastic Werner Winger book, the name of which has completely eluded me as soon as I said it, because I realized I was talking to 30 people.
I'm also blanking on that.
Marooned in Real Time, that's what it's called, which I recommend for everyone in this call to read because it's great sci-fi that involves tech and power and all the good cypherpunk-esque stuff. But basically later in the year, we'll be launching those grants. There'll be 3 different sizes, all the way from like a nano grant, which is really, you have an idea or a proof of concept, you want to kind of just hack on it, expand on it, all the way to stuff that's kind of, maybe you have a small team of people that you're working together and you're working on, a deep code integration of Nym with a particular application. Or, even better, you're building something, that's Nym, kind of rooted in Nym from the offset, which I think will become particularly kind of fertile ground for developers when we also have Coconut released, later in the year.
So then once again, I get to use the phrase on-ramp here because our grant structure is also from the simplest to the more involved and more complex things. Basically, that's how it's set up. And yeah, wait, I had a question in mind, but I forgot. Anyways, I think Evgeny has a good one, so I will just give him over the floor.
Just wanted to tell Max on the updates on binaries. What will be the expectations, new functions, maybe more human readable logs or documentation updates, etc. Like the sneak peek.
So sneak peek, there will be there'll definitely be some documentation updates. There's a little bit of stylistic streamlining that I've been toying around with. Obviously, there will be the instructions as well for the gateway and network requester binaries, because what people will be doing if you're wanting to, join as part of a service grant and run them in this special mode, then it's basically a flag. It's like just a flag that you use when you're running them. So it's very simple. There's no different compilation target or anything like this. With regards to the rest of the system, then I believe there is some, maybe the sensitivity of logs has been tweaked a little bit. But most of the push really has also been on setting up this Nym Connect infrastructure more recently and doing stuff like we've been quite focused on the smart contract side of things as well, maybe this kind of cycle. And by we, in this instance, I mean the core team. Obviously, the product team has been pounding out new wallet releases, such as now finally having dark mode, which is wonderful for all of you night owls like me, who only send crypto transactions at night or in a dark room. So that's the sneak peek.
Cool.
Should be the default, right?
Yeah, dark mode should be the default.
Yeah, every app should have the dark mode as a default. All right, so I've just added someone, an OG of the community, a true OG of the community, to the stage. He's Stefan. I don't know if you've met before, Max. Stefan was the first non-name team member to mix a packet on the Mixnet, actually. So he has a technical question about setting things up. Shoot away.
Yeah, hi everybody. I have been applying for this shipyard thing and set up a gateway, which was pretty easy. But now to test it, I want to run this, let's say, pipeline, starting at my SOX client and going out as on the network requester. And to do so, on my SOX client, I have to specify the remote address of the requester statically as a Nym address, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I did. And this means that at some point this Nym address has to be translated into an IP, right?
I mean, yes, it will. What's the question regarding it?
I'm trying to prepare for that. The question is, this process, this, let's say, naming service, which translates the Nym address, which is documented in your docs. Thank you. The process that translates that to an IP, is that done by some kind of naming service which is running inside the Nym network, or is that done by my local SOX client? And I'm asking that because I have kind of a sophisticated split DNS setup, so it's quite a difference who resolves that IP. And I have to add, I always announce my nodes, and that's the same for the mix node as for the gateway. I announce it not with an IP address, but with a DNS name, so that it will be reachable on both IPv6 and IPv4 simultaneously. And so I assume that this naming service will somehow figure out the announced address, right, of the node. And then somebody has to translate that to an IP address in case, like with me, it's not already an IP address, but instead a DNS name. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah, that does make sense. So I think if we go through this is something that I will actually double check for you after the call, but off the top of my head, then if we're thinking about how data is actually traveling through this whole setup, which is so from your SOX5 client all the way to the receiving client of your network requester, then because you know the address of your network requester anyway, right? Which is, like you said, what you put into the SOX5. And the way that those addresses are actually set up is just user ID, user encryption key, and then you have the @ and then that's the gateway, right? So when you're actually constructing the path through the mixnet, then you are going to be, sorry, let me rephrase how this is happening. Your SOX5 client, off the top of my head, does not have to know and won't actually know the IP address of your network requester, right? But that's also fine because in the address that you set up with your SOX5, you have the Nym related addressing that's already in there. So your packet knows that it has to, after going through whichever gateway you're connected to and the 3 mix nodes, it will always send packets to the gateway of your client. Now, the IP address of the gateway of your client is public because it's made public when you bond your gateway into the network, right? And then, assuming that the client of your network requester is online and connected to that gateway, then that gateway it already has a WebSocket connection with your client, so it knows where to pipe the messages. Therefore, off the top of my head, I don't think your SOX5 client would have to know the IP address, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be resolved in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a great question. I kind of suddenly had to think about how the networking works in a way that I haven't for a few weeks. But I hope that made sense.
Yeah, guys, remember Max has just arrived back from holiday, so
yeah, a pseudo off-grid holiday as well, which was quite needed.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, Stefan, did that make sense, or do you have any question remaining from that?
Yeah, well, I don't want to hijack this discussion, maybe. Still, I have an open question where exactly the DNS resolving of my, which is announced as a DNS name, is happening. But maybe take that to somewhere and.
Yeah, I'll have to dig into that. So yeah, maybe just drop me a DM or something.
Okay.
Because yeah, it's a really interesting question.
Oh and maybe something interesting. I've also made some traffic measurements. Well, maybe you have, probably you have, but I just wanted to add maybe an interesting number that for 1 terabyte of traffic a month, you will be able to mix something like 250 Sphinx packets a second continuously. And maybe that's interesting for I don't know what calculations.
No, that's really interesting actually. Yeah. So that's the requirement you worked out for you to mix basically a terabyte of traffic a month equals what?
Yeah, exactly.
So 256 Sphinx packets a second. Yeah. Cool.
And you should be able on a 1 gigabit line to fully saturate it would be like 86K of Sphinx packets roughly.
Yeah. That is very interesting. I mean, the optimizing Sphinx is something that we are, I say we as Nym, the extended Nym network of people, that is being looked into, actually, like quite heavily optimizing it. So expect those numbers to slim down quite a lot in the future as well.
Okay.
As another bit of leaked alpha, since Yevgeny's got me in the mood to leak now.
Stefan,
Use a
thanks
seal.
for the amazing question, man. It was good to hear you. You're echoing a bit, by the way. It was very trippy. You were you sounded like you were talking from a I don't know, maybe a mid-size
stadium.
bathroom. Yeah, something like that. A submarine, a submarine, a yellow submarine.
Yeah. It's good. It's nice to have some gentle trippiness on a Friday afternoon, I think.
Exactly. Actually, I was pretty rude and cut off Evgeny's question. I didn't realize that he had some follow-ups to you, Max. So let's hear those. Sorry, Evgeny.
Yeah, buckle up. Okay, so as you guys aim to get those 50 grantees, these will be gateways and network requesters, which people will use to provide some infrastructure for certain applications, which we can talk about later. But how will it be used? Will you just internally try to test and load it, or will it be published for others to use to try to use applications through these grantees infrastructure? So how this new infrastructure from Shipyard will be injected into the ecosystem?
Yeah. So there's a few kind of answers to this. So with regards to the actual, like, what the hard plan is for this, then they're working on something like a list and basically working on a list of existing network requesters is something that I'm very keen to start proof of concepting quite quickly, because that's one thing that's actually missing from the system, right? It's like we have these at the moment. It's like, from the point that you just said, which is you have these 50 up and running, what does that look like? The interesting thing, or maybe the interesting problem, is at the moment there is no real discovery mechanism if people want to have their network requesters and gateways. Well, gateways have a discovery mechanism in that they show up on the network requester, network explorer, but the network requesters themselves, they will need some kind of a discovery mechanism. Since we're only going to have 50 initially, and those will be 50 that are, running for a particular app, then obviously we can kind of DIY it, and just put together something as lo-fi as just a list of applications and network requesters that want to be made public and have people's traffic moving through them. That's what we can do in the immediate future. However, in the further future, obviously, we want to automate this. We want to make this trustless. So I am currently looking into the possibility of something akin to how mixed nodes and gateways currently announce themselves and are included in the network topology. Maybe some kind of a similar discovery mechanism for service providers that want to make themselves public and see themselves as a more of a public-facing service that they're running, rather than network requests that maybe you're running yourself or you're running for a few mates or whatever. So that's something that I'm actively kind of trying to think through at the moment. Obviously, with the tying it back to grants, obviously the dev grant scheme is going to be coming in the future. So if people have ideas, then apply for a grant with it. Go for it when those things are announced.
Cool. So thinking about the list of network requesters, but it should have something like health check, as it's not part of the economy, right? It has no token staking, but we need to somehow sort.
If you have some kind of a health check, then that will be it'll have to be a different process than what we currently have running for mixed nodes, for instance, because obviously it's a completely different thing that you're trying to test. Actually, in a way, it's maybe a harder thing to test unless you, I don't know, built in some kind of a testing endpoint that you pinged every now and again. But these are all big, good questions to be thinking through.
Cool. And continuing the same topic, Nym Connect currently is just Keybase and the Electrum thing, and it's hard coded. Do you have any plans or maybe sneak peeks on when the custom settings will be available? Select your own request gateway.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely stuff that will be hacked on in subsequent versions of Nym Connect. This is the first release of Nym Connect. It's in beta, and we are kind of finding out by doing with this. But having more customizable stuff will be it's on the horizon. Yeah.
Do I hear an on-ramp by any chance?
Not said by me. I think that's your territory. Yeah.
All right, we have one more question by Sven from Malicious Verify. It's good to see you, by the way. Maybe it was already answered, but what would it take to get service like Tor, hidden service like on Nym? Oh, sorry. So what he means is the hidden service of Tor to see something similar on Nym.
Okay, I mean, right. So this is a question I've seen a couple of times, and so there's maybe like a couple of I think the way that you would approach doing something like a hidden service on Nym, it would be maybe slightly differently than how you do it on Tor. I haven't set up a hidden service on Tor in quite a long time. But the way that you would do something like a hidden service on Nym, right? If we think about the architecture of what PEEPs, privacy enhanced applications, if we think about the architecture of what those things are, then they kind of fall into two, I would say, broad categories, right? You either have stuff like network requesters, which are kind of one foot in, one foot out of the mixnet in a certain way. And the foot in, the other foot out that they have is in the kind of the clear net, the internet as we know it, right? And your network requester is basically the shield, the shield against the prying eyes of the rest of the internet for whatever request you want to make to a server that is not protected by the mixnet. Maybe the Keybase servers, the Telegram servers, whatever. Your I don't know, like a web server, something like this, right? And then you also have the group of service providers that we haven't really explored too much yet. Although there has been one that's kind of halfway there, which was the outcome of the hackathon from last year, which are in our docs. It's in there as encrypted file storage, if anyone wants to check that out. It's right next to the network requested docs. And that was kind of half in, half out, because that used IPFS as a storage layer, which you could access through the mixnet, through a GUI client and a service provider on the other end, right? But what you could do is you could imagine something that instead of, for instance, accessing storage on IPFS, was accessing local storage, or it was accessing a network of storage devices that similarly were on servers that only communicated with Nym clients, right? So in a way, what you could do to do a hidden service is you could basically have something running on a VPS that was only communicating via a Nym client and basically just wasn't accepting requests from the rest of the internet. So that would be a way of starting to get something like a Tor hidden service like that running with Nym. This is like a design space though that is still, we're still actively kind of working out and developing. So if you have questions or ideas on this, drop me a ping in the integrations channel, and we can chat about it, because it's something that I do very much want to continue thinking through and also see work done when we have the devs grand scheme run going.
Yeah, and also this is a question that comes up from time to time. So knowing Tor and its functionality, a lot of people are thinking about this topic a lot. So it makes a lot of sense. I think we have one more question from the community, and keep them coming, by the way, guys. There's the voice channel called Community Call, and if you ask questions, then Max is going to be tirelessly answering them, I think. Is it accurate?
Yeah. That is absolutely accurate, mate. I'm a machine.
An answering machine, which sounds worse when said out loud.
I'm very outdated technology that no one uses. Yeah.
And by the way, if you guys missed the text channel, we moved it down closer to the voice channels, so it's now in the very end of the list on the left.
Exactly. So is there an idea to prevent the Tor problem, that it is easily identified as such?
What exactly do you mean by the Tor problem?
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah. I wrote that question. I was not sure if I can ask it, but on the Tor network, you have the problem that the traffic always leaves from the exit nodes, and that's easy for people like Cloudflare to identify Tor traffic and present you with endless captchas. And is there an idea in Nym how you could make it indistinguishable from normal traffic, which would mean that you have like a huge number maybe of exit node equivalents, which are network requesters?
I mean, I believe that something like this is it's not on the list of stuff that I think is being actively worked on at the moment, but it's on the list, basically. I mean, with the network requester itself, then, I mean, maybe you know the answer to this, but when you're, if we think about the difference between a Tor exit node, which is a generic exit node for the end of a circuit of whatever anyone wants to push through Tor, and use that particular exit node as an exit point, right? Then I think the traffic that node is going to be making is probably going to be it's probably going to be a lot weirder than what maybe like a network requester with a moderate or quite a limited allowed list will be doing, because obviously network requesters are not open proxy. They are tied to whatever services or servers that the person running them actually wants to ping. So I think maybe the design of the network requesters themselves might actually help here, because they don't necessarily seem as erroneous to stuff like Cloudflare, possibly. I'm not sure how Cloudflare, how formally Cloudflare is like identifying them by either literally scanning the topology of Tor and working out which ones are exit nodes or something. There's also some other research that is happening, which is, how you would basically, how you would disguise, which is more kind of from the opposite side, but like looking at how you would disguise the traffic of even connecting to the network as kind of more normal traffic, or traffic that isn't obviously encrypted. But that's on a slightly different path, I think.
Thanks.
Any follow-ups on that? Or maybe Evgeny, do you have any follow-ups on your questions? Because we're still not receiving.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
Stefan, do you know how, for instance, Cloudflare is like identifying an exit node?
Well, I think that's probably a secret of Cloudflare. But
Okay, any guesstimations? Yeah.
yeah, I would just guess that they somehow compile a list of exit nodes, and then they classify everything which comes out of that as evil.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see if this problem does arise actually as well. Yeah.
They keep saying that they somehow classified traffic by its content, so to say it's evil, not because it's from Tor, but because it's somehow evil and happens to come out of the Tor network, which is no surprise because
coincidentally it comes out of the Tor exit nodes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, but I always wonder, how do you tell evil from unevil? Because that's really all HTTP, at least for the most part, which is flowing through Tor.
I think the easy answer to that is you don't, and nobody should, I guess. But that's more of a philosophical thing than a technical one. So then, Evgeny, I can see that you're busy writing questions in the show notes.
Yeah, let's proceed with the most
Shoot away.
interesting topic of this call, the shipyard. And I just wanted to ask, like, are there any interesting applications among the candidates which people want to support, apart from Telegram and some common stuff? Maybe something interesting.
There hasn't been anything in particular that's jumped out at me. The responses have overwhelmingly been for Telegram, which is not necessarily, not massively surprising. I've seen a few people who have already who have mentioned in their application that something like trying to do stuff like signal support is also something that they are keen to look at. But no, unfortunately, actually, everyone's been actually really focused on the apps that we mentioned in the announcement, which is obviously good to see because it shows that people are, reading the blog post. But yeah, no, nothing too spicy quite yet. But maybe that's because they don't want to announce that they want to support a spicy thing on something that has a Git history. So we'll just wait and see, I think.
Yep. Let's start small.
Exactly.
Maybe we just go over the next steps, which will be which people need to do when things get updated. Like you mentioned, new binaries will be there, new instructions will be sent, but overall, what's the process? So maybe more people who were afraid to participate will try to and apply.
Yeah. I mean, so the process is applications are still open. What you do is you go to the service grants repository on our GitHub. You fork the repo, you rename the template, fill it in, put in a pull request, and then I will basically be, you'll get an email from grant@nymtech.net at some point next week, basically telling you whether you've been successful or not. For the successful ones, then instructions will be incoming when the new binaries are out and the new docs are updated. Then I will ping you all with a link to those specific docs and basically what we want to see by the deadline. I'll also be asking you to basically to sign, use the signing function of the gateway to send me a signature, basically proving that your Nym address does in fact own that gateway. And that's about it. So nothing too Byzantine or complex. You will get an email, and the email will have instructions.
Yeah, so basically not much more complicated than running a mixed node.
No.
And
No, not really.
Instead of staking your own tokens to run a mixed node, you will be getting paid for it. So don't hesitate.
True, but you will need to have an initial amount of nodes, an initial amount of tokens to bond, because
the gateway.
You will need to have at least 100 Nym tokens to bond that gateway initially, get it bonded in, get it included in the network topology, and so I can see that there is actually something that's running. But then, obviously after that, you will be being paid to run these nodes. So, yeah.
I guess there's one thing we forgot about what the purpose of the grants program is. One of the sort of like the side goals of it when it comes to gateways. Well, for now, as many of you know, the mixnet is free to use, so that means that there are no usage fees, and as gateways ultimately will be incentivized by portions of the usage fees. This is our basically on top of all the other benefits and purposes for this project, we also are trying to sort of incentivize them until there are usage fees.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have questions, actually.
Cool.
Just 1 second. Let me find the channel. Yeah, so Anas is asking, what's the most important thing in this grant application which count as a successful candidate?
Actually, properly answering the questions. I've seen quite a lot of I've seen quite a few applications which are haven't been properly answering the second to last question, which is what exactly these nodes are, why you want to run them, and what service you want to run as well, what service you would prefer to run anyway. Yeah, that's the most important thing. I mean, there's obviously an aspect that if you have, I've had people applying with, oh my god, the words just completely lost me. Sorry, Friday afternoon brain. People have been sending me Block Explorer links of like other nodes that they're running on other networks. All of that is great to see, but really, it's actually me seeing that you've like read the form and properly filled it out. Really, that's the big thing.
So basically, check for being a human being.
Yeah. Nothing mysterious. Whatever. This is this is the thing that I want to get as many gateways rolling as I can, and I'm not being unnecessarily harsh for no reason. Yeah, like Evgeny said, it's a human check. It's a civil defense check in a way.
So in summary, guys, if you want to succeed with the grants application, make sure that we would assume based on your answers that you would pass a CAPTCHA. If we think you wouldn't, then it's not working. I guess.
Pass a CAPTCHA and have read the question. Yeah. That's all really.
We have one more question.
Challenging sometimes.
We have one more question by Setman, which I think is a good one. Will we need Nym mainnet tokens to bond for a gateway? Yeah, so not NymT, which was our testnet token, but Nym mainnet tokens, and the minimum bond for both gateways and mixnets at this point in time is 100 Nym. So you gotta have that.
Yeah. So you have to have that to have it set up, but that's not a considering that you're doing that to then get paid in Nym over the next couple of months, then I think that's an okay trade-off. But you do need to be bonding on the mainnet because, as Simon said before, this is a method by which we are incentivizing people to actually start pushing traffic through the mainnet and kind of get this rolling. Where when we're in the stage that the mixnet's free, and obviously gateways are kind of not quite performing one of their core roles, which is to check that a user has a credential that shows that they actually have purchased bandwidth to put through that gateway, and that they have enough credit. You could almost think about it like that, to actually still push traffic through.
Exactly. Those for those who don't know, once there will be user fees, those will be actually in the form of bandwidth credentials. So you will be purchasing bandwidth to use the network with, basically.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that was it for this week.
I think I'll add a
unless
little
you
bit
have
more.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Keep this in Max for updates on the gateways. So as we approach the new age for gateways, them being incentivized even in the form of Shipyard, but we are missing like the let's say the details of the gateway. We can only see the identity, we can set the name, we can only set location. Some details, some social information, some description could be really cool to be added to the gateway. Do you consider that for the next version?
If not for the next version, then a version not too far away in the future. This is stuff that we have been thinking about. Obviously, this is the first kind of step of like getting the gateways really into focus, and there will need to be there's a couple of things that we can talk about fleshing out gateways. Like on a more immediate level, then there's stuff like what you said. It's kind of like adding a description, adding whatever, maybe some kind of uptime statistics as well. Gateways kind of almost advertising how much, what their hardware specs are, how much space they have, all of this kind of stuff, which I think is going to be, when it becomes to a certain extent, a question of economics as well. When the gateways are actually, when you have to pay to use the network, obviously you want to make sure you're spending a credential with the gateway that is reliable. And there's also the other stuff that gateways could possibly also offer in the future. So at the moment, a gateway, as well as checking when on entry into the mixnet, they also hold messages for you, right? I can imagine gateways, whatever, certain gateways maybe starting to advertise and spinning up with particular storage methods or messaging backups or even kind of other features as well. Maybe, something related to email, something like that. Some kind of, there's a lot to explore in the world of gateways, which is stuff that hopefully will start piquing people's interest with these initial Shipyard grants of actually getting people to just set them up and run them. And again, will hopefully be something that feeds, that can be kind of fed into by the dev grants as well. So if starting to mod our gateway binaries to add on a load of extra stuff, or I don't know, maybe even when a new user tries to connect, to be like, ooh, this is maybe above the limit of what I can feasibly deal with. All of these kinds of features are very much there to be hacked on by either core team or by any of you who want to do it.
Cool. Thanks for leaking more plans and details.
Sudo leaking plans, Sudo kind of trying to put ideas out, maybe in a few months when the dev grant scheme is up and running. Just seed some ideas.
Right. I think we have one last question by Stefan, and then we'll let everybody go for a lovely weekend.
Cool.
Okay, it's a simple one. The mixed nodes do have a nice REST capabilities to report statistics, but the gateways don't. Is there a plan to add that to gateways?
No hard plan that I am aware of. However, if there are certain metrics that people want to start seeing, metrics that people want to start seeing that obviously are also privacy preserving metrics, then yeah, if people have ideas, then again, throw them in the integrations channel or something, and we can see about adding them. I think the metrics of the gateway itself, they're quite tricky in a certain way, because it's kind of whatever the metrics that you want to, what would the metrics be that you wanted to see from a gateway, but also what are the metrics that you as a node operator are actually like willing to publicize, I suppose, is also the question, and whether this is something that you actually have to explicitly do yourself, which is obviously the easier way, or whether this is something that, I don't know, the binary itself is able to be aware of and respond to with the API is also kind of an open question.
Yeah, not to mention that I would assume, not only assume, but actually we know that mixed nodes have a very different set of reasons to view stats. So it is very important for a delegator to see the stats of a mixed node, and be aware of what sort of performance and what sort of stats they are delegating their tokens to. So that's how our entire rewards mechanism is built. And with gateways, it would be a very different set of stats for sure, and also there's a bit less direct impact on the APY or anything else for other people. So it's not as clear cut why people would want to see statistics of gateways other than uptime and some obvious ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, it is a different set of considerations. Obviously, a mixed node is like just this powerhouse little machine that is basically, it's firmly embedded within the kind of like token economic dynamic system, with its goal basically saying, hey, my uptime is as good as it can be, and I can parallelize however many thousands of swings packets, an hour. Whereas a gateway, they are still very important considerations, but they're also slightly more ephemeral, or at least they are maybe more related to the hardware itself in a way that's a lot harder to like test for, rather than with a mixed node, which is where with the mixed node, when we're testing a mixed node, we can just like pound a load of Sphinx packets at it and make sure that they all come back. And if they don't all come back, how many were dropped? And this is obviously relating to the capacity of the actual hardware that the binary is sat on, because it, is kind of delimiting how much processing power the binary actually like has at its disposal, right? But it's a bit different than, being able to ping a gateway and say, hey, how much spare storage have you got? On a technical level, it kind of operates at a different level of interaction between the binary itself and the hardware that it's running on as a process. But these are like very important things to be thinking about, because obviously in the future, when we do have the credentialing system, then gateways will also become embedded more rigorously, like within this kind of already quite complex token economic system we have right now.
Makes total sense. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to let you go, because we went 9 minutes over at this point. So I'm so sorry, Max. I hope it's okay.
I'm going to need another holiday now. Yeah.
I hope we'll still friends though.
No, it's fine. These are all like really good questions, sparking like a lot of good conversations as well. And also, I mean, it shows how big the thing that we're building is, both in terms of its like potential, but also just in terms of the actual amount of stuff and considerations that we have going. It's great. It's exciting, but it shows you how much stuff we have to keep building, which is pretty cool.
Exactly, and more on that coming later.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the I think the implicit point that I am always trying to make at the moment is, think of anything that you'd like to see, ping it in Discord. But also, if you are of the type who also wants to try and build the stuff that they want to see, Yeah, sit on that idea. When the dev grants come out, then that's what they're there for. So yeah.
And
Cool.
Shipyard
That's
is
cool,
moving along,
everyone.
so that is coming for sure. Sorry, Evgeny, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, nothing special. Just wanted to say thank you to Max for discussions, answers, and sharing plans with us. And yeah, looking forward. And we'll store more juicy questions for future calls.
Good. Always ping me as well on Discord. If you have a juicy question that just can't wait until a community call. Yeah, feel free to hit me up.
And also, thanks for everybody who joined today. It was a lovely call, and hopefully we could share some useful info with you guys. So we'll be back the same time, same channel next week, as always. And this time for real, the call was recorded. So this time, Craig and Gark, our recording bots, were here and with us for the whole time. So I can share a recording of this call. And as always, if you have suggestions for topics, guests, or anything in between, then let us know either in DM or in the community call text channel or anywhere on Discord. Basically, we're keeping an eye on everything. And thank you for tuning in. See you all next week.
Thank you for hosting, and see
Thanks.
ya.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you everyone for coming. As ever, thanks Simon for hosting. Maybe we'll have lift music next week. Who knows? See.
Stay tuned for that. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye everyone.
Bye.